Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Pies Presser. It has been an absolute slog trying to get through the last week or so, but now we can finally set our sights on some finals footy. It's time to talk all things black and white. Good evening, everyone. I hope we are all doing super well. Footy is within close proximity. Finals footy entering enemy territory against the Crows. We are graced with an opportunity to get the one back that we lost against them just a few weeks ago. A lot of heat in this duel with them for many reasons. And I'd say the fact that we've owned their ground for such a long time and recently finally succumbing to a loss at their home ground, I think that one is something that entices me to get that one back, to get that on them would be a nice feeling. Guys, it feels like it's been such a long time since I have seen you guys. I mean, we did a stream on Friday night. It's odd. We've gone from streaming every other day to streaming most days. And when there's a day in between drinks, it feels like it's been a long time. So welcome all. Quick shout out to those who are here. Massimo, Voidoid, Ben, Stefanos, Melissa, Teresa, Mello, Stefanos, Dad. Everyone's here. The usual suspects. Love it. We love to see it. I was at training today with my brother and my father, and also Benny Zero, who is in the chat. And what did we see at open training? We saw a nonchalant training session for the most part. We can all admit it was their third session in the week. They had a massive session on Friday. This was just the open training session. They pretty much just, I guess, were just shaking out all the stress from the Friday session. I would assume that's what it looked like on the training deck. It was quite a gloomy morning. Being open training, there were more supporters there than usual. But you know what? The one thing that really stuck out to me at training today was how the dimensions of the ground had been set up to acquaint ourselves with what we are to expect at Adelaide Oval. I cannot get over how narrow that ground is compared to the AIA Vitality Centre. I don't know what the dimensions are exactly when you compare the Vitality Centre with the MCG, but to see the Vitality Centre mimicking the dimensions of the Adelaide Oval, you just have to ask yourself, how do you play footy where you access the corridor and you're able to swing the ball from left to right? I find that incredibly fascinating as an opposition side, and the fact that we've been able to consistently beat Adelaide and Port Adelaide, and Gather Round included, beat the teams there at that ground makes it even more impressive. I remember back in 2022 leading into the prelim against Sydney, I remember going there with my old man, and even then the dimensions of the other grounds, like it truly does play a factor, and you really don't get to feel it until you see it, until you're there. And even if you're at Adelaide Oval, maybe, or at the SCG, you don't truly recognize it until you're at the training ground and you see the white lines around what the dimensions normally are at the training ground at the Vitality Centre versus the lines that are literally like 5 meters in from the boundaries that were initially lined up. So it definitely took me back. So it makes sense as to why games are played in certain fashions at different grounds. So that was an observation there. What was another thing we noticed? There's not a lot happening at the training session. Like I said, it was a pretty easygoing session, but we did see Beau McCreery for the first time going through some run-throughs, a fitness test, if you want to call it that. He was mainly doing rehab stuff with the rehab group along with a number of other players, but yeah, we saw the tweet from Xander on Friday evening or Saturday morning where he suggested that Beau McCreery is a 50-50. So he comes out in his first session today. He needed to do what he needed to do, and I'm sure it'll be more about how he backs it up. And I think the schedule for this week, if the game is on Thursday in Adelaide, you'd be looking at a Tuesday main training session, which is the only one we will get in this work week. And then you'll get a captain's run on Wednesday. And then they'll fly off to Adelaide shortly after. That's what I would imagine. I don't know if they're going to fly up on the Tuesday after main training and then get a captain's run at the Adelaide Oval, but I don't know how common that is anyway, so I'm not sure how real that is. So realistically, guys, we have one session this Tuesday to see whether Beau McCreery will get up for the game or not. So that would hurt us. It would hurt us. It really would. Like, hurts the system. We speak about that all the time. When you have Locky Schultz and Beau McCreery and Jamie Elliott in the side, you realize the speed and the pressure that we're able to apply onto our opposition within our forward half. And then you really notice a difference when you're missing two of four of those players. So right now we have Beau, Locky, Jamie, but we don't have Bobby right now. And we'll talk about Bobby in a moment as well, so hang tight. When you lose two of those four players, you're then asking Patrick Lipinski, Locky Sullivan at times, Rowan Steele. You're asking for these players who have really good endurance tanks, but they don't necessarily have the close down speed that Beau possesses, that Locky possesses, that Jamie and Schultz possess. It's a completely different ball game, completely different. And I think that makes a world of difference when we go into these games with or without those players. And I've noticed it significantly over the course of the season. It's right in front of you with Beau McCreery. Like you can't miss it. That incessant pressure just within your vicinity. What they call it, perceived pressure, but there's also that real pressure to it that you see with Beau. You can't evade him. He is there in that forward half. He's applying pressure in one way or another. And Jamie Elliott, he doesn't get the raps that he deserves, I feel like, when it comes to his pressure. He, along with two or three other players in the forward line for the Pies, are like top 20 in the league for tackles inside forward 50. I do just want to validate that claim. So let's have a look here for a moment. So if we go here, we'll go forwards. Yeah, we'll go forwards. We'll go key forward and then mid forward and then general forward, that's what we want as a reference point. And then you'll go minimum 10 games played and we'll go show all. If you look at this is quite a nice thing to hang your hat on as a team, as a club, as a fan base. This gives you great confidence. So you look at, as far as players in the top 20, you've got Locky Schultz, second in the league for tackles inside 50, 2.1 behind Paul Curtis, these are massive. Bloody gee whiz, 2.8 tackles inside forward 50 is ridiculous. And then you got Beau McCreery in the top 10. And then look at this. We got more than three. We got Jamie Elliott, who doesn't get the raps he deserves. And look at that. Even Brody Myercheck amongst small forwards is within the top 10, top 15 of the league. Where would Bobby sit in all of this? Bobby, can I see you? No. Bobby. Bobby is in the 40 to 60 range, one tackle per game. Like amongst Brody Myercheck is amongst, let's see. Besides Shannon Neal, Brody Myercheck is the only key forward ahead of him, and then the rest are just general forwards, small forwards. That's the crazy thing to our forward line. 4 of our 6 full-time forwards, our go-to forwards, starting 6 forwards, are all within the top 15 of the league. 1, 2, 3, 4, which is crazy. Absolutely crazy. What are we saying in the chat? We need 3 smalls at least. I think that's the secret recipe. I think that's the thing we should be honing in on. We we are a different team without 3 genuine small pressure forwards. We talk about having 3 key tall forwards. We talk about having key backmen. But I think we should shift our focus on getting 3 of the 4 pressure players on the field in the same game every week going into this final series. Otherwise, it just looks like a different Collingwood team. We're very dependent on locking the ball in our forward half. And without Locky, without those players, Beau, Jamie, and then you throw in Brody Myercheck, it just changes the way the game pans out. Voidoid says, I think we need to win week 1 so Beau can get a spell for a week. Voidoid, I don't think we're in a place to nurse Beau McCreery through this. Like, realistically, we have 3 or 4 games left. Can he tick the boxes and get to the starting line in Adelaide? Because what a win does for us, obviously, stating the obvious here, what a win does for us gives us that extra week off, gives us a home final where potentially, who else is in the top 4? Adelaide, Brisbane, not Adelaide? Brisbane aren't in it, are they? They are Brisbane and then Geelong. So you could potentially face a Geelong, but ideally you don't want to lose Adelaide and then potentially have to go to say like a Brisbane for a prelim final there if we have to go the long way around. You want to have, if you're playing, look, we talk about being fit to play and then transforming into the idea that we want to be fit to perform this year. I think you almost have to look past that in this time of the year. Like, if they're not right now, if they're not good to go now, or if they're not 100% now, you have to take 70, 80, 90% if your name is Beau McCreery, if your name is anyone else who's in the starting 23 for the Pies. That's just the reality of it all, which is why I don't subscribe to the idea of not playing Beau to give him an extra week in the case that we play an elimination semi-final, or we have him for the prelim. I just don't want to run that risk. I want him out in the field, and a 70% Beau McCreery is good enough for me. I think a 70% Beau McCreery applies better pressure than 90% of the league still being hampered. Even if he is hampered, that's where my mind sits with all of that. Jared says, I think Beau plays 100%. He's just resting his foot as much as possible. He played out the game on Saturday. And then that probably gives us a little bit of peace of mind knowing that he got through the game. But we all do know that sometimes when you're warm and you stay warm, despite sustaining an injury, you can push through the barriers in game. But to see him deloading for the entire week that's just gone by is a little bit concerning. But I think that's just us being super precautionary so that way we have no choice but to give Beau every chance to get through the session on Tuesday. And that speaks to volumes today, given the fact that he was with the rehab group. They're saying, look, Beau, we just need you to get through the main training on Tuesday, and that's all we ask of you. We'll give you the week off. We'll get you in the rehab group on Sunday, open training, get around the vibe, and go from there. I'd even go far as to suggest, and maybe that's something that's already going to happen, is maybe he might need a jab. And when you sign up to AFL footy, sometimes your health is not at the forefront of our minds. At the end of the day, you're trying to win at all costs to a certain extent. So I think if a jab needs to happen, and I'm sure a lot of these players are getting jabs without us knowing anyways, I think Beau's certainly if we can get a jab into him that gets him by on a week-to-week basis and get him through to the end of September, then so be it. Josh is exactly right. When we don't have Bobby, and then if you lose McCreery, all our speed goes. And Voidoid says, I also think maybe our coaches are being extra vigilant, which I 100% agree. I think we're just getting him ready for Tuesday and just get him to tick the boxes, get him to do what he needs to do on Tuesday so he can get on that bloody plane to Adelaide. Why wouldn't he want to play in front of his home crowd again? He clearly embraced it when we went there the first time a couple of weeks ago, and I think there would be an extra motivation for Beau McCreery to play in front of his home crowd. Chris Talbot, how are you? How are you feeling, Chris? I hope you're doing well, and I hope you're getting through this tough time, mate. Teresa says, I think these last few weeks have shown how much impact Sully can have. He doesn't stand out, but he just does the right stuff. Hope they give him another year. Look, that is a conversation for the postseason. I know we're not too far from that. There's a lot of water to go under the bridge. Free agency, trade period, draft. Locky Sullivan could be the type of player who we won't know until draft or after draft as to whether he'll be on the list or not. I think, when here's the thing, Teresa, when players don't play for a certain amount of time, you look back at it and you have like this nostalgic feeling or this false sense of security that when we had this player, X player, we were doing well. And you connect the dots there. I can see that, but as much as Locky has been a consistent player at his level for us this year, I don't think he's a player that we miss a great deal. And I say that with the utmost respect. I think he's had a good year for his standard, but I can't agree that Locky Sullivan has a profound impact on the system and the team. Let's catch up to here. Betty Zero with the 5 Pies Footy memberships. Here we go. Welcome Pineal Glen. Welcome Yeah Good. Welcome Kat and Ella to AB. You finally got one, AB. Here we go. Benny, I think we've been trying hard to get AB, but no Voidoid, unfortunately. And Frank, welcome. Matthew Lloyd and Wayne Carey said we have to play Cox. Man, they don't watch. See, doing this gig for the last 12 months and living and breathing every single moment through every single day of the week for literally for the last 12 months, you realize when you listen to expert opinion about your club, you realize that, guys, the Matthew Lloyds of the world, the Wayne Careys of the world, great players, but they don't follow the club like we do. We understand the club inside and out, like in every single way. I'll put a poll in, Voidoid. I don't want to foreshadow, but I'll put it in a poll now. I'll ask the question because I want my question to hopefully... I want my point to be made through this poll. Would you play Cox? And then we can go from it. Would you play Cox versus the Crows? I don't want to spoil. Maybe I already have. But would you play Cox versus the Crows? And then we can get back to that point. Hey, Benny. Champ Pie member for 6 months. Huge. Great meeting more of the Pies footy fans. So who do we see? We saw Jeremy. We saw Curtis. We saw Kev. That was a good chat. Very good. Mark Keane, Towed, Bro. You know what? That game, I've never seen Brodie Myercheck beaten in that way ever. And ironically, it took an Irishman who hardly knows the game and has hardly been in the game and formerly played for Collingwood. I found it ironic. And I remember we got killed in post-clearance ground ball or contested possessions against Adelaide. And it was because of players like Mark Keane, because whenever the ball hit the deck in our forward 50, within his vicinity, he just mopped it up and helped withstand the pressure that Collingwood applied for 3.5 quarters in that forward half. So for someone like Brodie, who is a tackling machine, is a contested beast inside the forward 50, I'm sure he's penciled this one in. He wants this one back against Mark Keane. So I think that will be an interesting conversation or an interesting watch on Thursday. We know one-on-ones don't lead to the direct outcome of the game, but it certainly plays a piece to it all. And I want to see Brodie Myercheck, who's had a slender 6 weeks. I think this is his time to avenge his loss against Mark Keane on Thursday night at Adelaide Oval. What are we seeing here? Okay, hold on. So 60% of you would play Cox versus the Crows. So I was going to say, I think Carey and Lloyd because they don't follow the club like we do, they would understand that I don't think there's why. I know we speak about him week in, week out. When we lose, we want Mason Cox in. When we win, we don't. I don't think he's the answer. I don't. Adelaide are a great ground ball team, and they killed us in the post-clearance ground ball game. Guys, we're not dealing with the same Mason Cox that we grew to know and love in 2018. He had a great season in 23. He even had a great end to 2024. We cannot go in with this blind hope in a qualifying final against the best team based on ladder position this season, thinking that Mason Cox is just going to turn it on because it's finals footy. The reality is, once the ball hits the deck, Mason Cox is out of the contest. Yeah. In the same breath, Phil Thorpe as a second ruck is one of the more dominant second rucks in the league, which does concern me against a McStay. So then you have to ask yourself, will Fly drop McStay for Mason Cox? Probably not. He's just going to stick to his guns. That's where I sit with that. Truly. Get Brody to play as a defender on Keane. Tell him not to even try to play in an offensive manner. Just hold Keane. Do you think we have to pay that much respect to Mark Keane? Has it gotten to a point where Brody Myercheck needs to play on Mark Keane like a tagging role? I can see that. I think Mark Keane, Adelaide have been one of the best backlines in the league, and it's largely to do with, is it Worrell and Mark Keane? Like, those are the two players who are just rebounding and intercepting everything. I mean, as far as intercept numbers are concerned, where do those Adelaide defenders sit? So let's go here, defender, key defenders and general defenders, intercept possessions. So you got Mark Keane, second in the league for intercept possessions. He's having that kind of year. Wow, that hurts. That hurts because we were I felt like we were edging towards getting Mark Keane over back to the black and white last year. I remember, guys, in the off-season, how Mark Keane we were on getting him back into the black and white. And to now see Mark have this season, and then right there, Josh Worrell. Look how ground ball gets. Worrell's there. Like, Josh Worrell and Mark Keane absolutely mopped up the footy against us at ground level. Look, both top 20 as defenders for ground ball gets. So they're so versatile. They get the job done on the deck and aerially as well. What about, so intercept possessions, top 4 in the league for both of them. Guys, we're so concerned about their forward line and Jordan Dawson, yet their defense has become almost their strongest suit, genuinely. So Mark Keane's 20th for intercept marks, and then Worrell would probably be top here somewhere, no? Okay. So intercept marking might not be their thing out of those two, but intercepting the ball, more so at ground level, is something they do, but then Mark Keane can intercept the ball aerially. Darcy Moore's averaging 2.6 a game. Where's Josh Battle? I mean, Josh Battle got a spot in the All-Australian. How well does he intercept the ball? Just curious, guys. Intercept possessions. Josh Battle. Like, he's nowhere to be seen. How did this guy get All-Australian? Josh, anyways. Peter G says, Beau has bad bone bruising on the top of the foot. He will play, but he hasn't been able to train. Bobby is building well, and if he keeps up his training form, he will return soon. So, Bobby Hill, he trained Wednesday, he trained Friday, and guess what? He trained today. Great signs. In my mind, if he's training right, he must think he's somewhat of a chance to play on Thursday if he was to train Tuesday and Wednesday. I think realistically, guys, we all probably understand that regardless of whether Bobby Hill puts his hand up or not, he will play the second final that we play in. Now, whether that be an elimination semi-final or whether that be a prelim, I think that's where we see Bobby. But regardless of when it is, we just have to hope that Bobby, even if he's not selected, he goes to Adelaide, he trains and continues. Because there has been a couple of moments or a couple of periods in this difficult time for Bobby where he's trained like for a week and then he goes, he'll be absent and then just takes himself out of the picture, which makes it hard for the club to select him. So if he doesn't get selected, I want to, if Bobby wants to play, I want him to hopefully continue training and more importantly, travel to Adelaide with the squad. Greatness says, Cox cannot catch a cold at this point. What makes you think he can take a mark on game day? I'm with you, man. I'm with you. 59% of you say, well, I don't understand this support for Coxie. 59% of you just saying you would play Cox versus the Crows. Bobby won't play. Bobby played well in the VFL off no train. Look, guys, if we go back 10, 15 years, guaranteed Bobby plays, no questions asked. You could even argue back then, Bobby could not train all week and just play the games as needed. But unfortunately, we just live in a different world where S&C is paramount. Well, firstly, if his mind's right, that's number one. But then number two, he has to tick the S&C box, which, look, we can rant and rave about it all day. But honestly, for me, I think, like I said with Beau, I'd take a 60, 70% Bobby, even if it means he has to be the sub. I think everyone has that base level of fitness and endurance. He's training well. When he came back through the VFL, it looked like he hadn't missed a beat. His touch was crafty. He didn't fumble. It didn't look like he had been out of the game. When he came on against Brisbane, he took that crazy mark, which sort of emulated the one that he took in the grand final against Brisbane. So that's me that's just my view on it. But we know that the club, they definitely put S&C on a pedestal, and sometimes it can be the thing that gets you through, and you appreciate for players like Jordan De Goey and Jamie Elliott and Darcy Moore who have gotten through some tough injury periods. But then on the other hand, you got players who are like line ball for selection, and they don't get selected due to S&C criteria demands not being met. That's where it aches me. Just play the best side. Karen says Bobby has no match fitness. Bobby Hill was looking at who else is in his sights to pin a tall on not to play in the side. Greatness says would only play as sub if he is available for the qualifying final. It's too little, too late, in my opinion, getting ready for the prelim. I think that's where, once again, realistically, we're looking at Bobby Hill to appear in a second final. How great it would be. Look, there's a story there. Like if we win that qualifying final, go to the prelim, how do you omit someone after a qualifying final win against Adelaide in Adelaide? Like that's going to be a hot topic. And you're looking at players who are probably going to be in the side. You got Rowan Steele, you got Will Parker, who will probably be in the side. Like someone is going to get omitted after hopefully a really good win against the Crows. Which there's always the feel good stories, and then there's the John Nobles of the world. And if we get to that point, like it will be a conversation, but it is what it is, and that's the nature of the game. Karen says, Mason can at least ruck. McStay has played dreadfully in the weeks. Agreed. And it does concern me that someone like Riley Thilthorpe, being one of the most dominant second rucks, Riley Thilthorpe in another world could be a full-time ruckman if he didn't have such great offensive craft. So when you see, I remember in the game against the Crows, like Dan McStay really battled against Thilthorpe in the ruck when they matched up against each other. So that is maybe another conversation that doesn't get acknowledged as much is how much of a point of difference Thilthorpe can be for the Crows when he's in the ruck against McStay. But I'll keep falling on the fact that Mason Cox is not the same Mason Cox that we know and love, and that's how can you bet on that? How can you gamble on that? We're already running risks with players who are out of form. We're already running risks with players who are under injury clouds, who are out of the side. You just have to be smart with selection now and don't get too pretty with it. Peter says, to beat Adelaide, Mason must play to have a tall target up forward and down the line. If the game plays out in the way that it did in that clash a couple weeks ago, you could argue like Mason Cox long down the line in the forward could be an option. But I'll say it again. What Mason Cox are you going to get? And are you willing to run that risk? On Thursday in Adelaide, 10% chance of rain. Thursday, mostly cloudy. So it should be a really high octane affair. I feel like it could play out as a completely different game. And it's a funny one because the two games we played against the Crows have been in undesirable weather conditions for like a neutral perspective. That first game was high stoppage at the G, and it went to a whole new level against Adelaide a couple of weeks ago, where the stoppages were it was just a forward half game, and it was stoppage after stoppage, and we couldn't score from stoppages. They beat us. They scored more goals in their forward 50 from stoppages than we did, and we probably had double the amount of stoppages. We had 71 inside 50s, so. I think I would like to see, as a fan of the Collingwood Football Club, I'd like to see a different type of game pan out. I'd like to see, can we go head to head with Adelaide in clean weather conditions, dry weather conditions. We're playing against an Adelaide who probably don't play the best in wet conditions. I want to see how their best stacks up against us in their best playing conditions. They're a top 4 side for scores from defensive half, and we're below AFL average. So it's two different game styles going up against each other. That's what it is in the end. Chain to score. D50 to score. They're okay. There you go. Yeah, their defensive half to score is decent. There you go. All right. In the dry, Pies by 5 goals, says Troy. I hope so. Benny, I didn't realize Rankin was so highly ranked at clearance. Bigger out for them, I first thought. He's definitely a stoppage clearance beast, and he scores from them. So that's his point of difference in the stoppage duel. Bobby Hill is that to us. Jamie Elliott can do that at times. DeGoey does some good work in stoppages. So yeah, it'll be a great game to watch. Have we forgotten about Isaac being out to the Crows? For the Crows, says Judd. No, we haven't forgotten. We know he's not available. But it's more about us, isn't it? At the end of the day, let's be honest. If we're in our A game, like, we can beat any side, as we have done throughout periods of this season. Peter G says, if Bobby was a full-time mid, then he wouldn't have the match fitness. We just want him crumbing the packs deep inside forward 50 and kicking a couple of goals, which could be vital in the final. Agreed. Bobby doesn't always play that deep, though. He's typically like a open side, high half forward. Jamie Elliott is that small forward who likes to sit deep and play goal square. So unless you're asking someone else to play Bobby's role and ask Bobby to play deeper, I don't really want that anyways. If Bobby's playing for us against Adelaide, you'd want Bobby playing high up the ground and connecting and doing what he does best. Chris Talbot, McStay has to go back to the back line and bring Cox and play forward and play in a ruck. I just don't know. Chris, Cox in, you reckon? Beau must play? Why Cox in? Why? The player that nobody talks about is Keys, and IQ shut him down last time we played. Keys is working class, man. He is working class to the nth degree, and IQ, unsung hero, outside of the 4 walls, and beyond the fan base, but I think we know what we've got when it comes to Isaac Quaynor. He's had a great year, and while the numbers might not suggest that, I'm not even bothered to look at the numbers right now when it comes to Quaynor. I think we see it on a week-to-week basis. His numbers, guys, his numbers could be worse than last season, and it wouldn't matter because we'd all agree that Quaynor is having like a... If last year was a 3 out of 10 for Quaynor, I would say Quaynor's having a 7 out of 10 year, and if 2023 was a 9 out of 10, yeah, this year would be a 7 out of 10. Evan says Mason Cox over McStay. Marvel Man, I tend to agree with you. If we drop McStay, we are just messing with the team again. And that's the risk. How many changes do you want to make? How many risks do you want to go into a game against an Adelaide side that's, for the most part, a really settled side? IQ was more Rankin and Will Parker was on keys from my observations last time. I will watch... Hey, Josh, I'll watch some of the highlights back from Ben Keys against Collingwood a couple of weeks ago, and I'll tell you, I'll be very surprised if Will Parker was the guy matching up on Ben Keys at the start of every centre bounce. Maybe in transition, it's a different story, but I think if we look back at it, he probably would have got a healthy serving of Perryman, Quaynor, Bruzzy. I don't know how much Will Parker would have played on Ben Keys. And also, you'd probably think, who would Ben Keys be taking in our back line? Maybe he was playing on a Josh Dacos at times to tag him out of the game. But I have to watch it back. I have to look back at it. If any of you guys remember, in the chat, let me know. Crows will shit the bed half the side, no finals, pies. So there's that conversation as well. There's Adelaide don't have much experience in the finals. We do, so we can lean into that. We can lean into this is a whole new season. And we walk into Adelaide Oval with that arrogance that we kind of run that town for now. That's the mentality without it blowing it up and going into it conceited, but you'd like to think that there is that subconscious confidence that you're going into a game at a stadium where you have great success at. That's real. Josh Dacos got tagged by Lockie Murphy. Mark asking, will Parker be in for Howe? Parker will be in, but it's not like a direct replacement. Like, Will Parker will not be playing on the same players that Jeremy Howe typically plays on, but if there's a player to come out, which is Jeremy Howe, and if there's a player to come in, it will probably be Will Parker. Fareed, can we see the lineup? We'll do a predicted 23 tomorrow. I think IQ is not as good as it appears. Disposals by foot are ordinary. I think his disposal has been better this year, but he's never been a great kick of the footy. He is there to compete at ground level, to get from contest to contest when teams are transitioning, which he does very well, and to intercept the ball, and I think he does that reasonably well as well. That's real, says Fly. Yeah, I know, Ollie. Yep. His lingo's rubbing off on me. Voidoid says, we don't need any wholesale changes, in my opinion. Luke says, McStay stays in. Thanks. Yep, I think so. Sash says, guys, if Mason comes in, Membry gets dropped, McStay has a grab that counts to win it big. He can play taller as a deep forward. We're not getting that from McStay at the moment. But if, in a hypothetical world, because we love that here, if Mason Cox was to come in, I tell you, we will riot if Tim Membry gets dropped. It would make no sense. Tim Membry, his point of difference at the moment is his goal kicking accuracy and goals in the final series are worth 2 or 3, especially when teams have got the yips. You want someone like Tim Membry to step up and say, you know what, I'll straighten us up. I'll kick the goal. He's our most accurate forward. He's one of the most accurate forwards in the league. And while he might not possess the ball a lot, when he gets his opportunity, he tends to convert, and his pressure and his running capacity is really good for someone of the role he plays for the club. So I don't think Membry will be getting dropped anytime soon. If McStay can kick at least 2 goals, that's a win for me. Would like to see that. Fly's a wordsmith. I like that. What, wordsmith, I've heard that before. What does it exactly mean? He's like just got a good vocabulary or uses the same words. Let's see. Wordsmith. A skilled user of words. Yeah, he's a skilled user of words. Yes. He's very particular with his words. Let's say that. Benny, thanks for the 5, brother. Who thinks Adelaide already played their best against us a few weeks ago and we let it slip with poor forward play choice? So someone said before, I think it was Voidoid, maybe he said, remember, we beat Adelaide in every facet of the game besides a scoreboard. The reality is this is a new game. So we can't go in with that mentality that, we beat them in every single area that mattered besides the scoreboard. We can't go in with that mentality. We know the players won't be, but as fans, we can't think that either. Like, it's a finals footy. It's a completely different game. Every game is different from one week to the next. You see that. You see that everywhere across the league. So whether we've let it slip, I don't know if we've let it slip that we missed that opportunity. At the end of the day, we're here again to seek vengeance. Game can go anyway. But it would be extremely unlikely, given the weather conditions as well, that they're going to be dry. We're not going to get the same game that we got a couple weeks ago. Troy says, leave members where he is. Agreed. Peter Nutt says, Hoskin Elliott is the obvious in as the sub and can play either end. All right, well, let's ask the question. So Will Parker had a really good game against Adelaide, so that he's got that going for him, right? He's got that going for him. But all things even, who do you want in for how? Like, Hoskin Elliott is trusty. He's reliable. He's versatile. He can play small. He can play tall. So would you want Hoskin Elliott or Will Parker? Will Parker had a really good game against Adelaide, but are you if he's constantly in and out of the side as a youngster, would you rather lean on someone like Hoskin Elliott? Skunk has been great for us. Agreed, Judd. Josh says the 3Ms need to kick at least 5. It will go a long way to winning less than 5. Hard to justify playing the 3 tools. It's a big test for the 3 tools. So it's because, spearheaded by Thilthorpe, Walker, Fogarty, they did well. They did better than our 3 key tools. And I think if we were to fail in the space of the 3 key tools, McStay, Membry, Myercheck, maybe we have no choice but to pull the trigger on giving us a different look in the forward line, maybe reverting to some sort of 2022, 2023 forward mix where we went relatively small with no truly identified key forwards. That poll is hard. Jeez, I can't decide. Parker for the pace and already proved he won't shit himself. We love that. What are we saying? It's a 50-50. It's a tough one here. Hoskin is cooked. Parker was solid. Back in the kid. And there's that as well. Like as much as the present moment matters, if you persist with players like we have with Ned Long, and if you persist with Will Parker, playing them in big games, do or die games. Although this is a double chance, like it's close to a do or die. Every week in the final series is close to, if not is a do or die. It gives a lot of these kids experience going forward. Now, do you pick them solely on the basis that they will gain experience from these games? No. But when you factor in Will Parker had a really good game against the Crows, when you factor in he's been on the precipice of being in and out of the side for the most part of the year, he's young, he doesn't fumble, or at least he didn't fumble against Adelaide in wet conditions. He made good decisions. Maybe you lean on that. Will Hoskin Elliott, on the other hand, yes, he's reliable. Yes, he's versatile. But he's not, maybe not to the same level of Mason Cox's disappointment. He hasn't been the same Will Hoskin Elliott the last 2 years. But do you play him because you know you're going to get this baseline level of performance from Will Hoskin Elliott and the versatility, but also you know that Hoskin Elliott is retiring at the end of the year. So it's like, okay, well, if you play him, you're not really bleeding experience into Will Parker. So there's a few like perspectives going into this. That's for sure. Hyphen suggests we will play slower and safer. Parker more dare and speed, which is what we want, right? Yeah. And in the analysis, guys, if you want to go back and look at the analysis video we did on Will Parker against Adelaide, it was Will Parker who was willing to take on difficult kicks in the corridor before we got into win the game mode, rocker mode, in the last 5 minutes of that game. It was the youngsters for Adelaide who turned the game on its head when they went through the corridor. Thilthorpe, Fogarty, the younger players were brave enough to take those difficult kicks. Against Melbourne, it was Scott Pendlebury. So you do rate that in a young kid who's willing to bite off the kick. Even if it doesn't work out, it creates chaos and gives you a chance to score. Yes, there's a high chance of a turnover and going back the other way, but when you've been playing safe for 115 minutes of footy, you're just asking to see something different. You're begging to see something different as a fan and as a team. Fareed, do you reckon we have 3 ins? Hyphen can kick goals and provides a run later in game. Don't worry about Hyphen's retirement until about 25. I'm worried about the fact that he hasn't been the same Hyphen the last 2 years, Peter. Greatness says, I just can't see Hyphen standing up. He has had a few weeks off, so maybe he's more fresh, ready than we think. I just think Parker is a safer bet. Look, it's not unanimous in the poll. It's close to it. 62-38 in the favour of Parker. Melissa, the umpires will favour Crows. So that's another thing we're going to have to accept, guys, going into this game. The umps are probably not going to be on our side. Most definitely. It's an Adelaide home game. You saw the calls that went against us. The missed throws, the Riley Thilthorpe kicking the ball when the ball went out for a boundary throw in. We have to brace ourselves for that as well. We're going to be handicapped. We're going to be handicapped. That's a reality. Parker was unlucky. I was very surprised even when we saw Parker omitted against the D's. I thought that's your chance. Like, as a coach, right, or as a mentor, as a team leader, and you just want that moment, or like sustained consistency in a game or 2 or 3 games from a player that you want to break into the side and take you into the future. I thought we saw that against Will Parker against Adelaide. For me, if you told me after that Adelaide game, hey, by the way, Howie's going to come in, but we're also going to drop Parker, I'd say, what? I'd say that doesn't make sense. I'd say, isn't that the perfect game you wanted from someone who is a fringe player looking to break into the side? We got that. Why would you, like, confidence is a real thing. So when you drop someone after having a game like that, you go, fuck, what do I have to do? What do I have to do? I only had 10 touches, but I did everything well. I didn't crumble in a hostile crowd in a must-win game. I did everything I could do in my power as a teammate to encourage victory. What more do I need to do, Fly? Why are you flirting with my form? Everyone was patting me on the back after the game. I felt good. We got the D's. Play another game, get me ready for finals, and then you drop me. That's true. The umps could insert themselves into the outcome of this game to our detriment. That's just the way it is. It's the way it is. We're going to have to deal with it. Few goals. Hey, Troy, like we saw in that first quarter, although it didn't last very long because they had a massive purple patch in that second quarter, kicking a few goals early to quiet down the crowd, God, it goes such a long way. So the emphasis on a strong start on the scoreboard is paramount in these type of games. Like, goodness gracious, how important would it be to get 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 in the first quarter on them and just shut down the crowd for a little bit. Where is Manny, Chris? I don't know where Manny is. I was asking Benny today. I said, I haven't seen Manny in a chat in a while. I think he's hibernating. I hope he's okay, but I think he's hibernating for tomorrow and onwards. So yeah, I hope we see his name in the chat at some point. Josh says Rowan Steele's biggest strength is he lowers his eyes and hits his targets. Hard to see him get dropped for the above names when so many of our players aren't lowering. Rowan Steele that's his quality. The fact that he can use the ball really well. He lowers his eyes. Great ball user, good decision maker. Can play on the wing. Been playing very well in the VFL, kicking goals, accumulating the footy. So that's another player who we were very positive about and hopeful that could solidify a position after his first couple of games at AFL level. So, yeah, it'll all play out tomorrow, or not tomorrow, but play out by Wednesday evening. We'll know about the team. Mick Sucker says Pies by 23. Daikai both in midfield for long periods. I would love to see it. Love to see it. Manny is hyping himself up for Big Boy Month. I hope he's okay. We get a grand final as good as last year. The winner is footy, says Jamie. 0 to 1 millimeter of rain. Yeah, it's dry conditions. It's dry conditions, Hugh. Manny has gone undercover. He's collecting data, isn't he? He's a PI for us right now, presenting as an Adelaide fan. He's within the four walls at their training ground. So hopefully he'll come back with some intel in the next couple of days. Josh, I think Manny doesn't like your new format of no fan cams. There's Manny. What do you mean there's Manny? Is he here? Hey! Oh, that's right. Manny's in Greece, guys. There we go. Hello to Manny Costo. Fucking miss your name, mate. Bloody hell. Yeah, okay. All good, all good. Just wanted to I forgot you said you were going to Greece. I forgot you said you were going to Greece. Bloody hell. Good to see that name. Nakis is looking fit at training. The week has been perfect for him. It's perfect for everyone. Get that extra week of rest. Josh, truthfully, with fan cams, mate, I really enjoyed that new format that we did a couple of weeks ago. It seemed like you guys still stuck around, and at the end of the day, it's you got to do, to a certain extent. There's part to this commitment that you got to do things that you love doing, and not that I don't like speaking to people on fan cams. There's always space in the week for that. There's always space on Mix channel for you guys to get around that. I just think the fan cams or the post game show moving forward will be an instant match reaction. We react to the chat together. We talk. We delve into different subjects rather than bringing in person after person, potentially talking about the same thing over and over again. That happens. There's a lot of emotion, so I don't love the idea of people coming on all the time and we're too high or we're too low. As you guys know, I'm quite in the middle, and sometimes I'll get upset, sometimes. But it's important to convey a strong message after the game as well, and it's a lot of responsibility to bear. So you got to be careful with like how we react, and there's a ripple effect. This is a big community, so when you come on after the game and we're all crying and it's all doom and gloom, we're shit, we're rebuilding, like it's not a nice feeling. And then the post game shows, guys, they're getting longer and longer. It started at half an hour to an hour and a half, 2.5. It's just, I shouldn't be justifying myself, but I just want to give you guys what I'm thinking right now with the show. But sending love, guys. Sending love to Manny's papu. All the best, bro. We're all here for you, man. I told you, you go missing for a couple of days, and we're missing your name, bro. We miss your name. As soon as you're gone for a couple of days, we're questioning where Manny Costo is. So we're all here for you, bro. Lots of love for Manny. That's great, guys. That's a community. We just need a Manny segment, not anyone else. We'll fit him in. We'll fit him in. Lift in the chat. Lift. All right, guys. We are going to leave it at that for tonight. We'll see you tomorrow. We may or may not get the injury report, but regardless, we will still try our best and roll with the predicted 23. Maybe we'll have some more news tomorrow, but as always, guys, we'll always find a way to talk about something. We're Collingwood Tragics. We'll chew the fat about the black and white, however and whichever way that needs to be done to get online. So, Guys, we'll leave it there. We'll see you tomorrow. And as always, go Pies.